Hey everybody, it's me, Andy.
And I'm Sean.
And this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, Yennett, Cryptic Sovereign. It's great. So this is so as I said, I took the C18 Esper deck and I rebuilt it. I was very excited by this commander, Yennett, Cryptic Sovereign. 2 white, blue, black, legendary Sphinx, 3/5, flying, vigilance, menace. That's a lot of keywords there. Whenever Yennett, Cryptic Sovereign attacks, reveal the top card of your library. If that card's CMC is odd, you may cast it without paying its mana cost, otherwise draw a card. You may cast it, so you don't have to cast it. You're always allowed to just draw it instead if you want to. Yennett's ability... Yeah, so basically, I was excited about Yennett because I love the idea of looking at the top of your deck. I think that's a cool idea, manipulating that and taking advantage of it. Yeah. And this is an ability that lets us really cheat in some dirty, dirty stuff, so I want to take advantage of
it. Some dirty, dirty stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really great. I mean, just the ability of whenever something it attacks with flying, vigilance, and menace is drawing a card is pretty sweet, let alone being able to cast some stuff for free. So
yeah,
great. All right, well, yeah, here's Yennett from the new set.
Great. So one of the things we're going to want to do is obviously we have to manipulate the top of the library. I will point out which of these cards I added in and which of the cards came with the Precon.
Great.
This one comes with the Precon. It's a no-brainer. It's Brainstorm.
It's very much a brainer.
Very much a brainer. This is the grandfather of sort of top of your deck. But you need shuffle effects. So it's a blue instant for just a single blue. Draw 3 cards, then put 2 from your hand on top of your library in any order. The reason this is a powerful card is if you have shuffle effects, because you can put cards on the top that you don't necessarily want anymore and shuffle them away. That's how you use Brainstorm early. Or later on, obviously it's an instant, so we can cast this with Yennett's trigger on the stack and put what we want on top so that Yennett reveals it and we cast it for free.
Sweet.
With a Yennett trigger on the stack, this becomes a single blue, cast any odd-numbered card in your hand for free.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, man, That's cool.
Yeah. And then just FYI, I put in a couple of search lands just to help that. I had to add these. The deck did not come with Evolving Wilds or Terramorphic, so I added those. I also added Esper Panorama. That's the panorama that can tap for colorless or 1 in a tap, and you can sack it and look for a basic Plains, Island, or Swamp.
Yeah, just very specific, but also can tap when it comes in, which is nice, right? Like sometimes in a pinch, you want that. You want that to come out.
There's been test games where I never end up cracking this because I keep using it for mana.
Me too, and it's actually one of the reasons I did end up taking some of these out of a couple decks I had, because I was always like, well, you know what, I never end up using it, but they are still definitely useful. I still run them in other decks, but
yeah.
Okay, what's next here? We have Geist of the Archives, 2 in a blue for a spirit, an 0/4 defender that says at the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. Simple.
Yeah.
This is like Thassa without the godliness, but still giving you that scry and still costing the same.
Yeah. Thassa obviously goes in this deck too, because it can be the unblockable for Yennett, but
totally.
Like scrying on your upkeep means you know exactly what's on top. Oh no, but you'll draw it, won't you? So it won't help you know what's on top. Anyway, it still helps.
Well, yeah, I mean, it lets you put something to the bottom that you don't want to draw, right?
Yeah. I also want to talk about Crystal Ball. This did come with the deck as well. 3 generic for an artifact, and you can pay 1 in a tap to scry 2. You could do this at any time after you've drawn your cards, so then you get to look at... Again, you get to manipulate the top. You can have whatever's on top for your combat step, so that if you get to attack with Yennett, you can put whatever you want straight into play or cast it or whatever. Very powerful effect.
Yeah, this is the poor man's Sensei's Divining Top, basically.
Yeah, and I think it does a great job.
It does. I agree. I like it better from like a strict gameplay perspective. But But yeah, Crystal Ball, this is one I've included in a bunch of decks that wanted to manipulate the top of the deck, your Maels of the world and like your Meliks and things like that. Like Crystal Ball's great.
Everyone has, and Yennett. These names sound all similar to me.
Melik, Yennett. Yeah.
Mael. Okay, so let's fast forward to a couple of key odd-numbered cards I put in here.
Some stuff you want to cast.
Stuff we want to cast for free. And we also get to cast them during our combat step. The way Yennett is worded, we cast it at the moment we do the ability, even if it's a sorcery or a creature or an artifact. So we get to sneak around timing issues as well.
Nice.
So let's go over a couple of big boys, 7 CMC or bigger. Some specific ones that are just fantastic in this deck. Do you want to start, Andy?
Sure. Let's look at Diluvian Primordial. 5 blue for the 5/5 flying avatar. When Diluvian Primordial enters the battlefield, for each opponent, you may cast up to one target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If a card was cast this way, you have to exile it. This guy is great. All the Primordials are very solid in EDH. The more casual, the better when it comes to these guys, because they do cost a lot. But like this is a repeatable, ETB ability you can get if you're bouncing the creature or something like that. And bringing this thing in at instant speed has some big time upsides, right? Like it's the same thing, right? You can do it. It gets around timing issues as well, right? Diluvian Primordial lets you cast it when Diluvian Primordial comes in. So I've always found though that Diluvian Primordial is almost always like maybe a draw spell and a board wipe. Like you can basically almost double this guy up and count it as a board wipe in your deck because, obviously if you cast it way ahead of curve or whatever, you might miss out on that. But later in the game, usually you're going to have at least one board wipe in someone's graveyard, and Diluvian Primordial can obviously make that happen.
It's utility. We would never want to do that off of a Yennett trigger because
sure, exactly,
would kill our combat. But maybe we're getting enough with that board wipe.
Might.
Yeah,
like if Yennett's the only creature you have out and someone's just really beating up on you, you'd be like, okay, yeah, let's get a board wipe going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you never know.
We've got I put all the primordials in here because, as Andy mentioned, they are pretty expensive, but they get really cheap if you can cast them for free, and they all cost 7.
Yeah.
So I put in the Luminate. Luminate's deal is that you get to exile one creature of each opponent. They gain life equal to its power. That's a Swords to Plowshares. And I've also included Sepulchral Primordial, which is the one that gets to reanimate something from each opponent's graveyard.
Nice.
All very good.
All
very good
cheap
stuff.
As far as money goes.
Yeah.
So they're nice. They're nice includes and nice upgrades for the deck.
They're creeping up though. They're like $1 or $2 a piece.
Oh really? Wow. Okay.
I mean, Sepulchral is.
Yeah, Sepulchral's the one you see the
still
most.
50 cents. Yeah.
Sepulchral Primordial is definitely, and the green one is banned, so don't even worry about that.
Don't even worry about it.
Don't even worry about it, man.
Okay. Steel Lens is too good.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Also put in a 7-mana Rune Scarred Demon. This is a card that is it's a little tutor, but 5 black, demon, flying, 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, search for a card, put it in your hand.
To be fair, this is a pretty big tutor.
Yes.
It's a little tutor.
It's a little tutor. This is the biggest tutor that I think there is.
Yeah. Now,
is there like a...
For some reason, I can't stop thinking of the word tutor as Tooter.
Yep.
He's a little tutor.
Oh, you stop tooting, tutor.
He's a big tutor. Yeah, big guy. Real big dude.
Big dude. But yeah, again, with Yennett, this is... So Yennett's ability works so well with this, right? So we could brainstorm it onto the top of our deck, maybe. Yennett, cast it for free. We get to tutor up a spell that we need right this second, maybe. Like maybe we need a kill spell, maybe we need something else. And we can throw that in our hand and cast that right now as well.
Right on. So what's this next part about? We can attack and get an extra ETB trigger.
Right. So let's talk about some neat moves that the deck does.
Neat moves. Working on neat moves.
Yeah. So that's sort of like the skeleton of it. Ways to look at the top, ways to put stuff on the top, and then gigantic ETB creatures or just giant spells. But if we have a lot of ETB creatures, we can really get away with some awesome spells that have a dual use now. We're going to kind of hit all of them, but why don't you read the first and the third? I'll read the second one.
Sure. The first one is Whisk Away, 2 and a blue for an instant that says put target attacking or blocking creature on top of its owner's library.
Great. We've also got Expel from Orazka, 1 and a blue. It's an instant with Ascend, as long as we have 10 or more permanents, which we probably will, like, from 2 seconds into the game. You return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If you have the City's Blessing, you may put that on top of its owner's library instead.
Oh. And then the next one is Azorius Charm, which is blue and white for an instant, and it says you choose one. Either creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn, draw a card, or put target attacking or blocking creature on top of its owner's library.
So all of these effects are... So Whisk Away is the most specific. Azorius Charm is very flexible, and then Expel from Orazka can do any non-land permanent. But the neat thing is, we get to attack. So if we already have a Diluvian Primordial on the battlefield, we get to attack with it and Yennett. And with Yennett's ability on the stack, we can put our Diluvian Primordial back on our library, on the top of our library, and just cast it for free and hit that ETB one more time. We get to... These cards basically become flicker effects for our biggest... or any odd number creature we want to recast again.
Hit that ETB one more time.
Yes. Which gives them more utility. Like, it's a pretty good way to deal with a permanent to have to put it on someone's library. Because, maybe they have a draw spell and they can draw it back or something like that. But it's a good way to get rid of something that gets around of indestructibility and, like, equipments and things like that. Like, it's a nice utility. It become highly utility.
Yeah, nice for a turn to be able to move something out of the way for a bit, and you also kind of blank their draw step. It's nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Still perhaps a bit of an overlooked ability for Commander, but I still think it's valuable.
Yeah, and like we get the bonus of using it for just a free extra cast of something, which is pretty sick.
Yeah, definitely. Double up those ETBs. Yeah,
those are so good. Love those. What do you want to take this one? This is a fun one.
Sure, this is Golgari Thug, 1 and a black for a 1/1 human warrior. It says when Golgari Thug dies, you put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library, and you
get it.
Yeah, right. And then you dredge 4. So if you're not sure what dredge is, it's basically instead of drawing a card, if this guy's in your graveyard, you get to mill 4 directly into the graveyard and then put Golgari Thug back in your hand.
Right. So if Golgari Dug thighs.
If Golgari Dug, oh my god, we do need to now do a thing where a guy's named Golgari Dug.
Golgari Dug.
Hey, it's me, Golgari Dug. Hey.
And Windscarred Craig.
Yeah, Windscarred Craig and Golgari Dug are friends.
Oh, and then Christine Talisman. We need all these regular people cards.
yeah, for sure. Oh man, we should make tokens of them or something.
Oh my god.
Well, Golgari Dug is real now.
Yeah. So Golgari Dug, when Golgari Dug dies, right? You get to put any creature on top of your library. Again, with Yennett going around, if we have a sack outlet, we can instant speed put any creature from our graveyard on top of our library and have it exist there for Yennett's trigger to just cast for free again. And then we can get Golgari Thug back by dredging, which only puts more things into the graveyard, which is pretty good anyway.
Right. Yeah, definitely, considering he's in the mix there.
Yeah, and then so one of the sack outlets... Did I put that? Oh, no, that's for later on. Yeah. So I also want to mention Vengeful Pharaoh. This is a neat move, too. All these seem like such easy adds to put in the deck. I don't know why some of these weren't in there.
Yeah, right. Like, this is the thing. Like, we're telling you, 50 cards you gotta go get for this deck now. It's like, usually we would tell you, 10 or 15 or something. You know what I mean? But now it's just redo the whole deck because they didn't give you any of the stuff that's actually good.
Yeah. Vengeful Pharaoh, great card in this deck. 2 black for a zombie with Death Touch. It's got 5/4. Whenever combat damage is dealt to you or a planeswalker you control, if Vengeful Pharaoh's in your graveyard, destroy target attacking creature, then put Vengeful Pharaoh on top of your library. So this works a little bit weird in the sense that you don't get to... attack with that because you will have drawn it before your attack phase because this damage happened in an opponent's combat step. But it's a nice little snake bitey card. Your opponents are going to be a little bit more reluctant to attack you if they know Vengeful Pharaoh's in your graveyard because you will get Vengeful Pharaoh back and you will be able to cast it again and keep that up there. And if you have a sack outlet, you can throw Vengeful Pharaoh in your graveyard instant speed and then they hit you and then Vengeful Pharaoh goes back on top and then you get to eat their best creature that way. And I've included my favorite sack outlet in the deck.
Oh yeah, what is it? Here it is. It's Bontu the Glorified. 2 and a black for the legendary god. He's a 4/6 with menace and indestructible. I should say. Bontu the Glorified can't attack or block unless a creature died under your control this turn. So there you go. But the sack outlet part is great. 1 and a black, sack another creature, scry 1, and then each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. So that scry 1, which is like kind of just this weird little bonus part usually for Bontu, is now like one of the main features when it's in this deck. It's great.
True.
It's kind of weird that black gets a scry 1. I guess it's not. No, because like, what's that other one? That other sack outlet? Viscera Seer.
Viscera Seer.
Sacks and you get to scry 1. So yeah, great.
Yeah.
Cool.
This neat move, Andy found this neat move last week for the Vivictus Asmati deck, Haunted Crossroads, 2 and a black for an enchantment.
It's a great
black.
one.
Put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Well, this is like one of the tops. Like, I'm attacking with Yennett. Trigger on the stack. Let's see. I'll put this one on top of my deck and get it back for free.
Wow.
Very fun.
You can really mess with there's a lot of stuff that does this from the graveyard directly on top of your library stuff. That's really good.
And so all of this is dependent on Yennett having an attack trigger, right?
Right.
But we don't need that, right? It's still useful to just grab a creature back and recast it the regular way. This becomes a way to manipulate our draw step. And it's like, well, I mean, that's still card advantage. If my opponent has spent a card to deal with one of my creatures and I get it back this way, that's, I haven't spent any extra cards to do it. It's fine.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like blanking your draw step, but if you're getting to do it for free, is it really a blank at all?
No.
But
I would say no.
You just can't get into doing it too early, I guess, right? Like you want to be able to
like,
actually have a couple draw steps before you start doing this type of stuff.
Yeah, and you might not have much in your graveyard early.
Oh, and who is this next person?
Ooh,
showing up in the neat moves?
Odric Lunark Marshall. 3 and a white. So this is the one that if you have Odric on the battlefield, at each combat, all your creatures gain all the abilities. Remember all the abilities that Yennett had? Flying, Vigilance, and Menace.
All right.
We talked about Bontu, who has Indestructible. Vengeful Pharaoh has Death Touch. I haven't even looked for more ones, but like there's tons of keywords floating around in this deck. So if you have Odric out, Yennett is unstoppable.
Yeah, wow. That's crazy. Yeah, and everything else you get is pretty unstoppable, right?
Everything else is too, yep.
Vigilance, flying, menace, crazy. Any skulks in there?
No skulks.
No skulks.
No skulks.
Okay, no skulks. Interesting. Huh. Wow, okay. Well, no skulks. We'll see. Great.
Man. So that's kind of like the main threads of the deck. I think it's super fun. I did a couple of little tester games as best I could. The little like program we use doesn't have the new commanders programmed into it yet, so I had to imagine I was doing the things, but it seemed to be working pretty well.
Before we move off Odric, I just was thinking, like, Odric is definitely one of those cards that I always tend to like look at it and go like, yeah, but like if I have this stuff going on, like, how much is this going to really, like, is this like a win more card kind of? But I think it falls into the category of if your commander has a couple of keywords on it, it's definitely an include, right? It's definitely worth, it's like under that old thing of like, even if card only interacts with just your commander and does a really cool thing, it can be worth putting in the deck, right? So I think that's kind of something that Odric, that's where Odric falls under there too, because he's definitely going to be giving everyone those 3 keywords, which is really very good.
Big time. Yeah. And like the Yennett has 3 good ones. Yeah. Like and Menace,
flying and Menace, like that.
Flying,
like think about
Vigilance,
that. Like,
and Menace.
Yes, exactly. It's like, and so the Vigilance is obviously one of the best things in Commander. Actually, we can attack and not have to worry about the crackback from 3 opponents. But the flying mixed with menace means that like these things are going to be next to impossible to block, right? Like
if there's any opponents with one or fewer creatures with flying or reach, you can get a full attack on them, 100% of your damage, and have no fear of crackbacks because your whole team is untapped.
no fear.
No fear.
Yennett wears no fear t-shirts.
Yeah. Is it too late for me to Photoshop a little no fear t-shirt? Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Great. That's the main thing of the deck. But so as you know, we still, although we do less of a restrictive budget, we will get to a budget report in a second. We still want to find some nice surprises and discoveries for you. Some cards that are a little bit harder to find, maybe a little bit older, a little bit less known. At least to me anyway. I want to talk about Penance. Penance is a white enchantment. It's 2 and a white. Choose a card from your hand and put that card on top of your library. Prevent all damage from a black or red source. Very useful in this deck.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You just, and even if there isn't, so I have to read the Oracle text. So it says, the next time a black or red source of your choice would deal damage this turn, prevent that damage. So it doesn't say target anywhere, so I'm not sure if there has to be a black or red source on the table for you to do this.
No, there does not. Because you're just saying that anytime, like the next time it happens this turn.
It says of your choice, though. Presumably you have to choose something.
Yeah, that's
but it doesn't say target, so like if it doesn't target it, just I don't know. I have to look at the rules. Anyway, what are the chances there isn't a black or red permanent on the battlefield? Even if it's like something that can't do damage because it's an enchantment, you still can say, I'm going to prevent all the damage from this. Like you're allowed to say that.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
go ahead. Yeah.
If someone has a Phyrexian Arena, you're allowed to target that if you wanted. Did you find out some rules info?
I'm looking. Anyways, I can't find it right now. It's gonna take too long.
but that also could shut down some Voltron commanders. Like a lot of Voltron commanders have red or black in it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if someone's running a like Lil Rakdos, you can kind of prevent the damage Lil Rakdos itself would do.
Okay, great. All right. Well, definitely the answer is that there does need to be a thing. So you do need to that what you pointed out, that of your choice, there does need to be a choice there.
So worst case scenario, you would pick Yennett and prevent combat damage from Yennett, but still get the trigger and still get to cast this free thing if that is preferable to you.
Yeah.
So you will always be able to do this to take advantage of a Yennett trigger.
Yeah, I guess you could pick Yennett, right?
You could.
Yeah.
In a worst case.
But like,
yeah. And so here's the next card. You want to check the next one. There is a possible worst case for it, but.
Sorry, I'm looking at this thing now again. Yeah, okay, all right. It's weird because it's like you can pay the cost, but you can't pay the cost if there's no choice to be made, right?
So it's weird that there's no target, but yeah, okay.
Anyways, okay. The next one we have here is Submerge. 4 and a blue for an instant that says if an opponent... Oh, I'll read the Oracle. If an opponent controls a forest and you control an island, you may cast a spell without paying its mana cost. Sweet. Put target creature on top of its owner's library.
It's another one of those abilities that we love in this deck, and it will probably be free most of the game.
Yeah, someone cast one of these cards the other day in a game we were playing, and I was like, I've got to look at those cards because there's I don't know about a lot, but there's definitely a few where it's like if you control the plains and your opponent controls an island, you can do this for free. Or, you know, some combination of the basic land types. And it's like, well, in Commander, that's just basically always going to be free. Because obviously we're not playing this in a deck without blue in it. And we're probably running islands, you know, right? Yeah. So it just you know, rarely there will be, oh, wow, there's no green player at the table, right? Like that will happen occasionally.
And like those moments where like someone's a 5 color and all of their lands are non-basic, so they're not actually forest. Like there are some rare cases, but I think your odds are like this is way overcosted otherwise. But you know, I'll live with that worst case scenario.
Yeah, like the worst case scenario is that it's just like an overcosted spell. which, okay, sure. That's not the end of the world. It's not like it's a dead card in your hand or something, right? Like, you can actually still cast it. So, but yeah, you're right. This is probably going to be free most of the time, and if you're going to get some value off of that, that's great.
Yeah. Big fan. Big surprise and discoveries. Love those ones.
Cool surprises. Cool discoveries here.
So
I'm very interested to find the other ones too, because I want to know.
What's an easy search? Like a Scryfall will do it. You can Oracle without, I guess you may play tilde like without paying its mana cost.
Right, and it seems like, well, this one's from Nemesis.
So they'll probably all be from Nemesis.
I wonder if they're all from Nemesis. Yeah.
I just don't remember what Nemesis. Anyway, we can look that up another time.
Yeah, we can certainly look that up. Not in the middle of the show.
So should we do a little budget report on this?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, as you know, we've kind of adjusted the. This is the part of the show where we're bringing back in because people miss it too much, and that makes sense because it's important. We get to live. The beeps get to live on.
Yeah.
So we recently made a couple shifts on things. The YouTube watchers will notice the new visuals, and the episode is a bit more streamlined, and we are doing less restrictive budgets. But we still are going to brew on a budget. We're still going to do non-cookie cutter brews, and we're still going to find some neat and deep finds here. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I want to say is, so the total cost of this deck as of the time of this recording is about $89.50. So under $100, but over our old $50 thing. But one of the interesting statistics that I want to start using is how many cards make up half the value. So in this deck, 14 of the cards comprise half of the value at about $44.88. So if you really wanted to make this budget, you'd make 2 or 3 cuts in those 14 cards, and you could get this down by a lot. I think that's just an interesting statistic to think about.
This is kind of like going to be a new feature of the budget report, am I right? Right? Like this idea of half of this deck makes up this amount of value, half the value of this deck is represented in these amount of cards.
Yes.
And we were talking about why that's valuable to know, and it's like, well, then I can, like you just said, like, it lets you know how much of it is like weighted in just a few cards.
Right. So the lower that number is, if half of the deck was in 3 cards, then that would tell you that we have some very expensive cards in it. But if half of the value is in 50 cards, then every card is nice and the average card is very evenly spread out. So no card is particularly expensive or particularly cheap.
Right.
So I don't know I don't think there's any number that's better than others. This is just for your information. The lower the number is, the less cuts you have to do to make it super cheap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, what are the top 5 most expensive cards? We talked about all of them briefly except the last one. Yennett is coming in at $5 right now, but I don't know if that's going to change. Golgari Thug is $4.50, or Golgari Doug. If you know Doug, he can get you a discount. And one we didn't mention, because it's a 3-drop, is Anguished Unmaking, 1 white black. For an instant, exile target non-land permanent, and you lose 3 life. That's about $4.50, and it's one of the most useful removal spells in the Orzhov colors.
Yeah, and like you said, the fact that this isn't in the deck already, but Utter End makes absolutely no sense.
Makes no sense. Makes no sense.
Makes no sense.
Do you want to talk about the 3 stars of the deck?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the 3 stars. Do you want to start?
None of these cards came with the deck.
Oh, great.
My number 3 star is Conjurer's Closet. It's 5 generic for an artifact. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under your control. We have a lot of very expensive, heavy-hitting ETB creatures, and a lot of our small ones have decent ETBs anyway as well, so this card is very useful.
I love this card.
Yeah.
Arguably, sometimes it's a little too slow, or like there definitely have been turns where like, ooh, can I cast this Conjurer's Closet and then like make it around the table and then do this other thing I think is really good? Or should I just do the thing that's pretty good and wait on the Conjurer's Closet? And I'll go, I'll cast Conjurer's Closet. I want to live the dream. And then because I did that, I get blown out by something. It happens a fair amount, or like they just destroy it or something. But I still love this card, man. It's just a lot of fun.
Well, but I just want to paint the picture. If you've got Yennett on the battlefield, you can spend 5 mana to cast Conjurer's Closet, and if you've got a way to know there's a creature on top, you can sneak out a 7-drop, And then at the end of your turn, get that ETB one more time.
Yeah, get that ETB again. Hit that ETB one more time. Bam!
Yeah.
Great. Number 2 is Grave Purge. 2 and a black for an instant that says put any number of target creature cards from your graveyard on top of your library, and then you draw a card. This is one of the more underrated cards, I think, for Commander. This card in the late game, like just, if you're in a deck that obviously is putting a lot of stuff in your graveyard, or even if you're just having lots of trade-offs, lots of creatures, you're aggressively trading your creatures off, Grave Purge is very good. It can just stack the top of your deck with like 6 or 7 creatures from your deck. It's nuts. So every time you draw or every time you Yennett, obviously, it's just pure gas, right? So, man, Grave Purge is one of those things. It not only does it do that, but then it replaces itself by drawing you one of those cards you just put on top of your library. And it's only creatures, so you can't like throw a land up there or something like that in case you needed that extra land. So make sure you have the setup you need before you Grave Purge for like 6 or 7 creatures, because it's going to be a while before you get to like a land or a sorcery or something.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you put 2 creatures on top, the one that you draw and the one that Yennett's going to sneak out.
Exactly. And that's a pretty sweet and fine scenario, right?
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
Yeah.
And the fact that it draws it also can be straight Gravedigger, right?
Yeah. Gravedigger without the body, but it's instant speed, which I like better.
Yeah. Grave Purge is definitely, like, try it out. If you think this card might be good in one of your decks, I urge you to give Grave Purge a try, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with the flexibility of it and like and even the power level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the top card of the deck really seems like a huge no-brainer that was missing from the reprint. Soothsaying. This is the closest card that Magic has to my dream card, which is instant blue X, scry X. That card does not exist and it may never exist, but Soothsaying is a blue enchantment. It costs blue, and then it has 2 abilities. 3 blue, shuffle your library. Not unusable, but not likely. Or X, look at the top X cards of your library and put them back in any order. This is also sort of a little mini Scroll Rack or Sensei's Divining Top in a way.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to pay. Obviously, you're paying a lot more for it for this, but this is what we get. This is what we get for budget versions of those types of cards. And actually, it's quite good, though, in a deck like this that really wants to manipulate that top card.
It's a fantastic mana sink, because if I've got nothing to do, I can spend 6 or 7 mana and just get the best card in there as my next draw.
Just fully set up your whole, like your next 6 turns, though, also. And if you're really unhappy with what you see, well, shuffle that library.
I'm going to draw the first 2, and then after 2, I want to shuffle that away.
Yeah, sure.
But that's also why we've got Esper Panorama, Evolving Wilds, Terra. Like, we've got a lot of other cards that we can do pseudo shuffles. I mean, though not pseudo, they're full on shuffles, just with different methods.
Yeah, exactly. That's where you want your shuffling to come from, is, a free ability that, maybe comes on a land or something. That's where you want that to come from.
Yep.
And it's a valuable ability for sure, especially with Soothsaying and Brainstorm and things like that.
Oh man.
That's
the deck.
And I gotta say, you did a better job of building this deck on the cheap than somehow the company that makes Magic did.
Well, thank you, Andy.
Right? You really did.
The compliment. I'm going to take the compliment. But I must admit, though, like, I do feel like each of the 3 commanders they come with sort of have their own game plans a little bit. And I did definitely pick one that was a bit more kind of focused in one area. So I had to make a ton of cuts. I don't fault them for giving us variety in the 3 new commanders.
No, me neither.
But still, like Soothsaying, come on. Even the main one that Planeswalker cares about the top of the deck. And the whole thing is about top of the deck in some way. Yeah. So, give us Soothsaying.
Give us Soothsaying. Yeah, I that's another thing. Like, I don't have a problem with the fact that maybe all the commanders don't do the exact same thing. I think actually that's quite good. Like, remember Karlov in the Daxos Precon? Like, Karlov, he worked with like 2 cards in that deck. But who cares? It was a good commander. Just throw it in there. That's fine. I'm not going to be disappointed with that. It's the makeup of the actual deck itself, I think, is disappointing.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what are you going to do?
Well, we're going to buy some singles.
We are going to buy some singles, and we're going to do it from Wizard's Tower. All right, great. There we go. That's the show there. There you go. full episode done. Brews News is now located just on YouTube on its whole other playlist on our YouTube channel. So go and check that out if you want some comedy coming your way. Otherwise, we will see you guys later this week for the big set review, and next week for another update on the Precons. We will see you guys later. Goodbye.
Bye.
If you want to contact us, I'm at Sean Tabaris.
And I'm at Andy Holbone.
Send us an email at commandersbrew@gmail.com.
You can find out when we go live on Twitch if you follow us at twitch.tv.
And if you care to support us on Patreon, check us out at patreon.com.
And you can find our deck list on tappedout.net.
And if we forgot anything, commandersbrew.com.